Steelers fans and avid NFL fans alike have recently begun praising Mike Tomlin more so than usual for becoming, quote, one of the best coaches and, quote, Coach of the Year candidate. And generally, most fans are in agreement, and I for the life of me cannot see why. For Steelers fans, they believe that the issues lie with coordinator issues and injuries, and had nothing to do with Tomlin's ineptitude. Another issue I must state that causes the mass hysteria over Tomlin being a great coach is the classic Steelers fan trope of living in the past, unable to move on and adapt to an ever-evolving league, which unfortunately has led to a leak of this mentality directly into the Steelers front office. This might come as a shock to some, but it shouldn't. Let's go back a few years and start from there to show why Mike Tomlin is a one-hit wonder and nothing more. At the end of the 2000s, the Steelers were on top of the world. They'd just capped off the 2008-2009 season with their 6th Super Bowl, making Mike Tomlin the youngest coach to ever win a Super Bowl. This launched Tomlin to stardom, with Steelers fans alike believing that they have found the replacement for former head coach Bill Cowher. Fast forward to 2011, and the Steelers suffer a big blow to their ego, losing to the Green Bay Packers in Super Bowl 45. This was the beginning of the downfall for Mike Tomlin. The following year, the monstrous 12-4 Pittsburgh Steelers looked to bounce back after their loss last year to the Green Bay Packers and get a chance at redemption. However, they go into a wildcard game against a vastly inferior 8-8 unexperienced Broncos team led by Tim Tebow and witness the beginning of Tebow mania, losing in overtime. The next 2 years, Mike Tomlin finishes 8-8 despite brandishing an incredibly talented roster including players like James Harrison, Troy Polamalu, Mike Wallace, Antonio Brown, Brett Keisel, and many more. You'd think the fans would start questioning Tomlin's coaching ability, however they choose a scapegoat, newly hired offensive coordinator Todd Haley. Just like that, Tomlin was off the hook. I mean, why else would the offense be struggling? Why else would we be 8-8? It couldn't be because the team was unprepared and poorly mismanaged. The Steelers bounced back into the playoffs, however, in the 2014 season, hosting a wildcard game against division rival Baltimore. The Steelers once again come in unprepared and cocky and end up losing 30-17. 2015, however, showed more promise for Pittsburgh, with Antonio Brown now cementing his role as the best receiver in the league and Ben Roethlisberger continuing to dominate, as well as having an outstanding young back in Le'Veon Bell. Surely the Steelers will make a run. Once again, though, the Steelers fall short in the divisional round to the Broncos. Todd Haley was now on the hot seat, with fans demanding he be fired despite leading the Steelers to a top 3 offense in 2015. The praise of the offense would go to Tomlin instead. 2016 and 2017 showed a different issue with Coach Mike Tomlin, his inability to control the locker room. Headlines would begin to surface about tensions in the locker room and a lot of infighting between the team. 2017 would be the last year the Steelers had made the playoffs, going an incredible 13-3 and looking like a Super Bowl caliber team. They faced Jacksonville in the divisional round. Once again, against a vastly inferior team at home in the first round, the Steelers came out flat and unprepared, played down to their opponent as the Steelers often do, and lost 45-42. Even after being down 21-0 in the first half, Tomlin found his team down 45-42 late in the fourth quarter. While he still had enough timeouts to stop the clock and get the ball back to give his team another chance, he decided to onside it, effectively ending any chances of a comeback. You'd think with all the staff changes and the position changes over the year that didn't work, that maybe now Tomlin is the problem and not every other scapegoat blamed for the mediocrity. You'd probably already guessed it, but Mike Tomlin was not blamed by the media and or Steelers fans alike. Tomlin was still a Pittsburgh love child with no doubts about him being here for a long time. The Yinzer mob got what they wanted though. Offensive coordinator Todd Haley was fired at the end of the 2017 season despite being 3rd in total offense. Now in the 2018 season, newly promoted offensive coordinator Randy Fichtner assumes Todd Haley's role as Mike Tomlin's scapegoat. Tomlin and Fichtner look to be hitting it off, starting the year with a 7-2-1 record, a great young defense, and a powerhouse offense with 2 superstar wide receivers. However, in typical Tomlin fashion, he blew an opportunity at the postseason, losing 4 of his last 6 games and missing the playoffs at 9-6-1. That's right, with a playoff berth practically in their hands, they somehow miss out. Steelers fans were in panic mode, immediately blaming everything under the sun, of course, except Tomlin, and vowing that this was a one-off. Now we are in the present. It's post-Week 16. The Steelers are once again on the verge of blowing another playoff opportunity by losing to the Jets. And as you might have guessed, Tomlin is not only not considered an issue, he is being praised as being Coach of the Year. Yes, the Steelers are without Big Ben, but the absolute horrid unpreparedness, lack of motivation, and ability to actually finish something has nothing to do with that. As I've shown, this hasn't been a recent thing, this is a decade-long trend. The absolute double standard I see from Steelers fans, one day praising Tomlin if something is going right on defense or overall, acting like he is the entire team and deserves all the credit, and then the next day blaming Randy Fichtner for the offense being bad. And the cycle endlessly repeats. I'm a Steelers fan. I've been one since I was a kid. But Tomlin is the issue that is ingrained in the organization, and it's time for him to go. It'd be very hard to find a coach who has had more talent over the years and yet still can't produce. The only way the Steelers can obtain greatness again is if we stop living in the past off of a Super Bowl high that was over a decade ago and realize that we are failing to fundamentally adapt to an evolving league. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to share your opinion below. Should Mike Tomlin be fired or should he stay in Pittsburgh?